When I opened my apartment door on the morning of my 47th birthday, there was a bouquet of white lilies sitting on my doormat. My hand started trembling before my brain could even process why. The card read, in that familiar handwriting I'd memorized from 1,000 grocery lists. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Love always, Mom." My mother had been dead for 3 years. I stood there in my bathrobe, staring at those flowers like they might bite me, because here's what nobody tells you about grief. Sometimes it doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it shows up on your doorstep with a $45 arrangement from Meyer's florist, the same place Mom used to order from every year without fail. But my mother was gone. I'd watched them lower her casket into the ground on a Tuesday in March 2021. I'd paid the $8,947 for her funeral because, of course, there was no life insurance. There never was. Because for 30 years, every spare dollar my mother had went to my sister Rachel. Let me take you back 6 months before Mom died, to the conversation that should have been my first clue about what was really going on. "She needs $3,200 for the security deposit," Mom said on the phone, her voice doing that thing where it got small and apologetic. "Rachel's landlord is selling the building." I was sitting in my car outside the grocery store, calculator already open on my phone. "Mom, that's the 3rd apartment this year. I gave you $2,100 in February for the last move." "I know, honey, but this isn't her fault. The landlord. It's never her fault." I watched a woman load groceries into her trunk, thinking about my own cart of generic brands and sale items. "I'm already sending you $1,500 a month for Rachel's expenses." Silence. "Then, you make good money at the hospital. Rachel's struggling. She's got the anxiety and the job market. She's 44 years old, Mom. She's special. She needs more help than other people." Special. That word became my mother's magic spell, the incantation that made my bank account open and my mouth close. Rachel was special. Rachel needed special consideration. Rachel couldn't be expected to function like the rest of us mere mortals. I sent the $3,200. Over the next 6 months, I sent another $1,800 for medical expenses that were never specified, $950 for car repairs on a car Rachel didn't have when I visited, $400 for emergency prescriptions, and $2,200 for something Mom called legal fees but wouldn't explain. Do the math with me. $3,200 plus $1,800 plus $950 plus $400 plus $2,200 equals $8,550 in 6 months. Plus the $1,500 monthly stipend I'd been sending for 5 years. That's $90,000 I'd transferred into my mother's account, earmarked for Rachel, while I drove a 2009 Honda with 187,000 miles and wore scrubs so old the hospital logo had faded to a ghost. I'm a nurse practitioner. I make $89,000 a year before taxes. I'd been giving my family more than my annual salary over 5 years, and I'd never, not once, gotten a thank you card, a birthday call, or an invitation to Rachel's apartment to see where all that money was actually going. Then Mom got sick. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Diagnosis to death in 4 months. I took unpaid leave from the hospital, lost $11,000 in wages, and moved into Mom's apartment to care for her. Bathed her. Changed her. I held her hand through the morphine dreams and the 3 a.m. panic attacks. I was there when she took her last breath. Rachel showed up to the funeral 90 minutes late, wearing pajama pants and asking if there was going to be food after. But here's the thing that broke me, the thing that made me finally understand I'd been played. When I was cleaning out Mom's apartment, I found the folders. Color-coded. Meticulously organized. One labeled Sarah's contributions, and one labeled Rachel's trust. My mother had been taking my money and putting it into a savings account. For Rachel. A trust fund that would pay out when Mom died, specifically set up so I couldn't touch it, couldn't even know about it. The account balance. $127,439. I sat on my dead mother's bedroom floor and calculated. With interest and some money from Dad's life insurance I didn't know existed, Mom had turned my decade of sacrifice into a six-figure nest egg for my sister. A sister who couldn't be bothered to visit during the cancer. A sister who'd never sent me a dime when I was drowning in student loans. A sister who, according to the trust documents, was designated as unable to care for herself due to mental health challenges and requiring lifelong financial support. I'd been Rachel's ATM with a pulse, and Mom had been the bank. The worst part. There was a letter. Sealed envelope with my name on it, tucked into the trust folder. I opened it with shaking hands. Sarah, I know you'll be angry when you see this, but Rachel needs security. You're strong. You've always been strong. You'll be fine. She won't. I'm trusting you to understand that some people need more help than others. Special people need special care. I love you both, but I need you to keep taking care of your sister after I'm gone. You're the only one who can. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Then I threw up in Mom's bathroom. Strong. That was her word for me. Not capable. Not successful. Not deserving. Strong. As in, strong enough to carry the weight so I should. Strong like a mule is strong. Valuable for what it can bear, not for what it is. I called Rachel from Mom's landline, my voice surprisingly steady. I found the trust. Mom said she'd tell you eventually. You knew. This whole time you knew. I mean, obviously. Where did you think the money was going? She laughed. She laughed. Did you think I was spending $1,500 a month on groceries? I thought I was helping you survive. You were. Now I can survive without begging you every month. Mom knew you'd get weird about it if you knew, so she set it up as a surprise. You should be happy for me. The phone felt like it weighed 100 pounds. I gave up my savings. My retirement. Oh my God, here we go. The martyr routine. You have a job, Sarah. You'll be fine. I have mental health issues. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia last year. Fibromyalgia. It's a real condition, Sarah. I can't work. I need that money to survive, and honestly, you're being really selfish right now. Mom just died, and you're worried about money. Hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the phone twice. That was 3 years ago. I didn't contest the trust. I was too tired, too grief-stricken, too broke to fight. I paid for the funeral on a credit card that I'm still paying off. I went back to work. I put my head down and tried to forget that my mother's last act on earth was to rob me blind and call it love. And now, 3 years later, on my 47th birthday, there were flowers on my doorstep from a dead woman. I picked up the bouquet with trembling hands. The card was in Mom's handwriting. I was sure of it. The loops on the Y in birthday, the way she always wrote love always as one word. Love always. This was her handwriting. I pulled out my phone and called Myers' florist. A woman answered on the second ring. Hi, I just received a delivery, and I'm trying to figure out who sent it. The card says it's from my mother, but she passed away 3 years ago. Keyboard clicking. Order number. I found it on the receipt tucked in the bouquet. Oh, this is interesting. This is a standing order. Set up in 2018, paid in advance for. Let me see. 10 years. Annual delivery on November 9th. White lilies. My birthday. Mom had set up 6 more years of birthday flowers before she died. Maybe as an apology. Maybe as a reminder. Maybe as one last twist of the knife. Is there any way to find out who's paying for it now? The credit card must have. It was paid in full, ma'am. One lump sum of $450 in 2018. Nothing to track. I thanked her and hung up. Then I noticed something. Under the flowers there was an envelope. Not from the florist. This one was handwritten on expensive stationery. Opened it. Sarah, Mom wanted you to have these every year. To remember you're loved. She paid for them before she died because she knew it would matter. I thought you should know it was her final gift to you. Also, we need to talk about the house. Call me Rachel. The house. Mom's house. The one I thought had been sold to pay medical bills. Called Rachel back, my heart pounding. What house? Mom's house. The trust owned it, remember? I've been renting it out for 3 years. Making about $2,400 a month. It's good income. You've been. The trust owned the house? Yeah, it was in the documents. You didn't read them. God, Sarah, you really should have read them. Anyway, the renters are moving out and I need your help cleaning it out. There's a lot of Mom's stuff still in the basement. $973. That's what I'd been paying in rent for my 1-bedroom apartment. Meanwhile, Rachel was collecting $2,400 a month on a house our mother had bought with money that came from our father's life insurance. Insurance that should have been split between us. 3 years. $2,400 a month. That's $86,400 Rachel had collected while I lived in an apartment with a broken AC and a landlord who took 6 weeks to fix the heat. I'm not helping, I heard myself say. What? I'm not helping you. I'm done. Sarah, don't be dramatic. It's just a few hours of work and hung up. Then I blocked her number. Then I sat down on my couch, holding my dead mother's flowers, and I made a decision. I was going to find out exactly what had been done to me. Every dollar, every lie, every trick. And then I was going to burn it all down. The next morning I called in sick to work for the first time in 11 months. I sat at my kitchen table with 3 years of bank statements printed out, a yellow legal pad, and a calculator that was about to become my best friend. I started with the obvious numbers. The monthly $1,500 for 5 years before Mom died. $90,000. The emergency payments in those last 6 months. $8,550. The funeral I put on credit. $8,947. Lost wages during Mom's illness. $11,000. Total from me. $118,497. Now Rachel's side. The trust. $127,439. Rental income for 3 years. $86,400. Total to Rachel. $213,839. I stared at those numbers until they blurred. Nearly $250,000 had been funneled to my sister while I ate ramen and drove a car held together with prayer and duct tape. But it was the flowers that haunted me. Mom had spent $450 on 6 more years of birthday deliveries. $45 per bouquet. I did the math obsessively. That was 3 tanks of gas. 2 weeks of groceries. Half a credit card payment. My mother had money for flowers but not for honesty. I called my best friend Maya at 9 a.m. She's a family law attorney, and I'd watched her eviscerate cheating spouses and manipulative in-laws for 15 years. If anyone could tell me if I'd been legally robbed, it was Maya. I need you to look at something, I said when she answered. As a lawyer, not as my friend. 2 hours later I was in her office. She read through the trust documents I'd finally retrieved from the county records office, her expression getting darker with each page. Sarah. She looked up at me over her reading glasses. Did you know you were named as co-trustee? What? Right here. You and Rachel were both designated as co-trustees after your mother's death, which means you have legal authority over the trust assets. Which means Rachel can't do anything, can't withdraw money, can't collect rent, can't make decisions, without your signature. The room tilted. But she's been collecting rent for 3 years. Illegally. Maya's finger stabbed the page. Every penny she's collected without your co-signature is embezzlement. And look at this. The trust was supposed to pay out in equal installments over 20 years to ensure long-term stability. Rachel isn't supposed to have access to the principal at all, just interest and controlled distributions. How much has she taken? Maya flipped to another document, one I'd never seen before. A bank statement she'd requested that morning. According to this, she's withdrawn $43,000 from the principal in the last 3 years. Plus the rental income she never reported to you. I felt something crack open in my chest. Not sadness, rage. Pure, clean, clarifying rage. What do I do? Maya smiled, and it wasn't a kind smile. You exercise your rights as co-trustee. You freeze the account. You demand an audit. And you sue her for the money she's stolen. Can I do that? She's my sister. Sarah, she's been committing fraud for 3 years. Yes, you can absolutely do that. I left Maya's office with a folder full of documents and a plan. First, freeze the trust account. Second, change the locks on the rental house. Third, demand a full accounting of every penny. But when I got home, there were 5 missed calls from Rachel and a text. We need to talk now. This is about Mom's wishes. I didn't call back. Instead, I drove to the bank where the trust was held. The banker, a woman named Patricia with kind eyes and steel in her voice, pulled up the account. You're listed as co-trustee, but you've never accessed the account. Why is that? I didn't know I could. She studied me for a long moment. Miss Chen, I'm going to be frank with you. Your sister has been in here every few months, always with a story about why she needs money. Medical emergencies, car repairs, home improvements on the rental property. We've asked for your co-signature multiple times, and she always says you're out of the country or unavailable. She forged my signature. I suspected as much. I made copies. She slid a folder across the desk. I couldn't prove it without your cooperation, but if you look at these withdrawal slips, you'll see your signature. Is that your handwriting? I looked at the signatures. They were decent forgeries. Rachel had always been artistic, but they weren't mine. The S was wrong. The 2 looped. No, that's not me. Patricia nodded slowly. Then we have a problem. I'm going to need to freeze this account immediately and report this to our fraud department. You should also file a police report. Police. Ms. Chen, your sister has stolen over $40,000 through forged signatures. That's a felony. I sat in that bank for 3 hours. I signed papers. Gave statements. I authorized the freeze. And with every signature, every initial, every yes I'm sure, I felt something shift inside me. The scared little sister who just wanted her family to love her was dying. Someone else was being born. When I got home, my phone was exploding. 15 missed calls from Rachel. 7 texts, each more unhinged than the last. What did you do? The bank called me. You froze my account. This is Mom's money for me. She wanted me to have it. You're destroying me. You're killing me just like you killed Mom by stressing her out. I'm calling my lawyer. I blocked her number. Again. Then my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sarah, this is Dr. Weinstein. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm calling on behalf of your sister Rachel. She's asked me to do a wellness check on you. She's concerned you're having a mental health crisis and making irrational decisions regarding family finances. My blood went cold. Excuse me. Rachel tells me you've recently frozen access to funds that support her medical care. She's worried you're experiencing some kind of break with reality, possibly grief-related. She's mentioned that you've been obsessed with conspiracy theories about your late mother. This was it. This was Rachel's play. If she couldn't access the money legally, she'd have me declared incompetent. Dr. Weinstein, I'm a nurse practitioner. I work in psychiatric care. I'm not having a mental health crisis. I'm preventing my sister from continuing to embezzle from a trust she's been defrauding for 3 years. If you'd like to verify my mental state, I'm happy to provide references from my employer, but I will not be manipulated by my sister's false concerns. I see. Rachel didn't mention you were a healthcare professional. I'm sure she didn't. Do not call me again. Hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From fury. Rachel had actually tried to have me declared crazy. She'd called a psychiatrist. This was a coordinated attack. Called Maya again. She's trying to have me committed. What? I explained the call. Maya was silent for a long moment. Okay. New plan. Tomorrow morning you're going to your own doctor. You're getting a full psychiatric evaluation. We document that you're completely sound of mind. Then we go on offense. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the flowers. White lilies. Mom's favorite. She'd spent $450 to send me flowers for 6 more years, but she'd spent $127,439 to make sure Rachel was taken care of. What did that say about how she valued me? At 3 a.m., I got up and did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I drove to the cemetery. Mom's grave was in the back corner, under an oak tree. I'd paid $1,200 for the plot because the trust document said cemetery expenses weren't covered. I stood there in my pajamas and a winter coat, looking at the headstone I'd put on a credit card. I know what you did, I said to the stone. I know you thought you were protecting her. But you sacrificed me to do it, and I can't forgive that. I won't. The wind picked up, rattling the oak leaves. For a moment I waited for something. A sign, a feeling, some indication that Mom's ghost was listening. But there was nothing. Just cold November air and the distant sound of traffic. I'm taking back what's mine, I told her. And I'm not sorry. I drove home as the sun was rising. I showered, put on my best professional clothes, and went to my doctor's office the moment they opened. Dr. Okafor had been my physician for 8 years. She knew my history, my work, my life. When I explained what I needed, she didn't hesitate. Your sister is trying to have you declared incompetent. To access money she's been stealing. Dr. Okafor's jaw tightened. Let's document exactly how competent you are. 2 hours of evaluation. Mental status exam. Mood assessment. Cognitive testing. Dr. Okafor was thorough, and when she finished, she printed out a report and handed it to me. Sarah Chan is a fully competent adult with no indication of mental illness, cognitive impairment, or diminished capacity. She demonstrates excellent judgment, clear thinking, and appropriate emotional responses. Any suggestion otherwise is without medical merit. She signed it with a flourish. Give them hell. I went home and found Rachel on my doorstep. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, sweatpants, eyes red from crying. For a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Sarah, please. We need to talk about this. We don't. That money is mine. Mom wanted me to have it. You're destroying my life. You forged my signature, Rachel. You stole $43,000. You tried to have me declared insane. We're not talking. We're done. I have fibromyalgia. I have anxiety. I can't work. What am I supposed to do? I looked at my sister. My 47-year-old sister who'd never held a job for more than 6 months, who'd lived off our parents and then off me for her entire adult life. Who'd taken and taken and taken and never once said thank you. Get a job, I said. Like everyone else. You're a monster. Mom would be ashamed of you. That should have hurt. A year ago it would have devastated me. But standing there with Dr. Okafor's report in my bag and Maya's number on speed dial, I felt nothing but calm. Mom taught you that I was a resource to be mined. She taught you that special people don't have to follow the rules everyone else does. She taught you that my needs would always be less important than yours. But she's dead, Rachel. And I'm done being your ATM. I walked past her into my building. She called after me, screaming threats, crying, begging. I closed the door and locked it. Then I texted Maya, "Let's file the lawsuit." Her response was immediate. "Already drafting it. She's going to regret ever forging your name." That night, I did something else I hadn't done in years. I went to a salon. A real salon, not the $15 chain place I usually went to. I spent $180 on a haircut and color. I got my nails done for another $65. I bought myself a $200 pair of boots I'd been eyeing for 2 years. I spent $445 on myself in one day. Almost exactly what Mom had spent on 6 years of flowers. And you know what? Felt incredible. I took a selfie in the salon mirror, looking at this woman I barely recognized. Professional haircut, manicured nails, a smile that wasn't forced. I posted it on Facebook with a caption, "New chapter." Within an hour I had 50 likes. And one comment from Rachel's best friend Jennifer. "Some of us know what you're really doing to your sister. Karma will find you." I deleted the comment, blocked Jennifer, and made a note to add her to the list of people Rachel might have manipulated into being witnesses. Because if this was going to court, and it was, I needed to be ready. Maya called the next morning. "The lawsuit is filed. She's going to be served tomorrow. Are you ready for this to get ugly?" I thought about the flowers, the forged signatures, the psychiatrist, the screaming on my doorstep. "It's already ugly," I said. "Now it's time to make it official." Rachel was served with the lawsuit on a Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, my phone started ringing from numbers I didn't recognize. I let them all go to voicemail. The messages were a greatest hits compilation of manipulation. Rachel's voice sobbing. "You're really doing this? You're really taking me to court? After everything Mom sacrificed for us." An aunt I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. "Sarah, I heard about the lawsuit. This is family business. You don't air family business in court." Jennifer again, somehow getting my number. "Rachel is having panic attacks. She might have to be hospitalized. Is that what you want? To put your sister in the hospital?" And then the one that made my blood boil. My cousin Mark, who I'd actually liked. "Look, I get that you're mad, but Rachel told me your mom set up that trust specifically to protect her after she's gone. You make decent money. Can't you just let her have this?" I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded every message to Maya. Her response. "Document everything. These are going to be her witnesses. They're establishing their narrative." The preliminary hearing was set for 6 weeks out. In those 6 weeks, Rachel launched a campaign that would have impressed a political strategist. First, she started a GoFundMe. Help Rachel fight her sister's greed. The description was a masterpiece of fiction. According to Rachel, I was a wealthy, cruel older sister who'd always been jealous of her. Mom had left her a small trust to help with her disabilities, and now I was trying to steal it because I couldn't stand to see her happy. She included a photo of herself looking frail and sick, holding a picture of Mom. The GoFundMe raised $3,400 in the first week. I found out because Jennifer posted about it on Facebook, tagging mutual friends. "Please help Rachel." Her sister is a nurse practitioner who makes 6 figures and is suing her disabled sister for her inheritance. This is what greed looks like. Maya filed a cease and desist on the GoFundMe, citing defamation. GoFundMe took it down, but not before Rachel had withdrawn the money. Second, Rachel filed a countersuit. She claimed I had emotionally abused her for years, that I had coerced Mom into setting up the trust in a way that gave me control, and that I was now weaponizing the legal system to continue my abuse. She was suing me for emotional distress. The amount she was seeking, $250,000. "She's trying to intimidate you," Maya explained when we met to review her countersuit. "She wants you to drop your case and walk away. She's betting you don't have the stomach for a long fight." She's betting wrong. Good. Because it's going to get worse before it gets better. She was right. 2 weeks before the hearing, I got a call from Adult Protective Services. A woman named Karen Martinez explained that they'd received a complaint about me from a concerned family member. What kind of complaint? The complaint alleges that you have been financially exploiting your disabled sister, that you've cut off her access to funds she needs for medical care, and that you may be a danger to yourself and others due to what the complainant describes as an obsession with revenge. Closed my eyes. Let me guess. The complainant is my sister Rachel. I can't confirm that, but we do need to investigate. I'll need to come to your home for an interview. Of course you will. Karen came 3 days later. She was in her 50s, tired-looking, with a clipboard and the wary expression of someone who'd seen every con in the book. I showed her into my small, clean apartment and offered her coffee. Ms. Chen, I have to ask you some questions about your relationship with your sister. Ask away. For the next hour I walked her through everything. I showed her the bank statements, the forged signatures Patricia had copied, the trust documents proving I was co-trustee, the psychiatric evaluation from Dr. Okafor, the police report I'd filed for fraud. Karen took notes, her expression shifting from skeptical to shocked to angry. Your sister reported you for financial exploitation. My sister is currently embezzling from a trust and trying to have me declared incompetent so she can continue. This report to you is part of her strategy to paint me as the abuser. Karen closed her notebook. Ms. Chen, I'm going to be honest with you. We get cases like this more often than you'd think. Adult children who've been supporting a sibling or parent for years, then try to set boundaries, and suddenly they're reported as abusive. It's a manipulation tactic. So you believe me. I believe your documentation. And I'm going to file a report that says this complaint is unfounded and appears to be retaliatory. I'm also going to note in your sister's file that she's made a false report, which means if she does it again, there will be consequences. After Karen left, I sat on my couch and cried for the first time since this all started. Not from sadness, from relief. Someone official had looked at the evidence and believed me. But Rachel wasn't done. 1 week before the hearing, I came home from work to find police officers at my door. Sarah Chen. Yes. We need to ask you some questions. Your sister has filed a report claiming you've been making threatening phone calls and that she's afraid for her safety. My heart stopped. I haven't called her. I blocked her number 3 weeks ago. The officer, a young guy who looked barely old enough to shave, pulled out his phone. She's provided us with recordings of voicemails. Would you like to hear them? He played 3 voicemails. A woman's voice, not mine but close, saying things like, "You're going to regret this. I know where you live. You're going to pay for what you've done." That's not me. It sounds like you. It's not me. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work at Mercy General Hospital. You can call my supervisor and confirm I've been at work during the times these calls were allegedly made. You can also check my phone records. I haven't called my sister's number in over a month. The older officer, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, stepped forward. Ms. Chen, we're going to need to see your phone. I handed it over without hesitation. She scrolled through my call log, then looked at her partner. No calls to this number. At all. She probably used a different phone, the young officer said. Or, the older officer said slowly, someone else made those calls and is trying to frame Ms. Chen. Ma'am, are you currently involved in any legal proceedings with your sister? Yes. I'm suing her for embezzlement. We have a hearing in 6 days. The officers exchanged a look. The older one handed me back my phone. We're going to need to take those recordings and analyze them. If they've been fabricated or if someone else made those calls pretending to be you, your sister could be charged with filing a false police report. Please do that. After they left, I called Maya. She tried to have me arrested. What? I explained about the fake voicemails. Maya was silent for a long moment. Okay. This is actually good for us. She's escalating, which means she's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. The more she lies, the easier it is to prove she's been lying all along. It doesn't feel good. I know. But hang on. 6 more days. Those 6 days were the longest of my life. I went to work, came home, and existed in a state of low-level terror that Rachel would try something else. A fake restraining order. A fake medical emergency. Something. But nothing came. Just silence. The morning of the hearing, I put on my best suit, the one I wore to job interviews and funerals. Navy blue. Professional. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked harder than the woman who'd opened her door to flowers 6 weeks ago. Older. Tired. But not broken. The courthouse was downtown, a gray building that smelled like old paper and desperation. Maya met me outside carrying 2 enormous folders. You ready? No. Good. That means you're taking this seriously. She squeezed my shoulder. Remember, you tell the truth. That's all you have to do. The truth is on your side. We walked into the courtroom. Rachel was already there with her lawyer, a slick-looking guy in an expensive suit. She'd clearly spent some of that GoFundMe money on representation. Rachel looked terrible, but deliberately so. No makeup, baggy clothes, hunched posture. She was playing the victim before the judge even walked in. When our eyes met across the courtroom, she mouthed something at me. It looked like, "I'm sorry." Too late. Judge Patricia Hernandez entered, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who'd heard every lie ever told. She looked at the case file, then at both of us. This is a preliminary hearing regarding a trust dispute and allegations of fraud. Ms. Chen, Sarah Chen, you are alleging that your sister, Rachel Chen, has been embezzling from a family trust through forged signatures and unauthorized withdrawals. Ms. Chen, Rachel Chen, you are countersuing for emotional distress. Do I have that correct? Both lawyers confirmed. All right. Ms. Morrison, you're representing Sarah Chen. Present your case. Maya stood. Your Honor, this is a straightforward case of theft and fraud. Ms. Rachel Chen has systematically stolen over $43,000 from a trust that she was not authorized to access without her sister's co-signature. We have bank records showing forged signatures, witness testimony from the bank manager, and a pattern of manipulation and retaliation when my client attempted to exercise her legal rights as co-trustee. She laid out the evidence like a prosecutor. The withdrawal slips with forged signatures. Patricia's testimony about Rachel's stories. The rental income Rachel never reported. Police report. Then it was Rachel's lawyer's turn. His name was Dennis Cole, and he oozed false sincerity. Your Honor, my client is a disabled woman who suffers from fibromyalgia, anxiety, and depression. Her mother, knowing that Rachel would need lifelong support, set up a trust specifically to care for her. Sarah Chen, who earns a substantial salary as a nurse practitioner, has decided that her sister doesn't deserve this inheritance. She's weaponizing the legal system to punish her sister for being sick. He pulled out his own evidence. Medical records showing Rachel's diagnoses. Testimony from Dr. Weinstein, the psychiatrist Rachel had called to check on me, saying Rachel was genuinely fearful of her sister's mental state. The Adult Protective Services report, conveniently omitting Karen's conclusion that it was unfounded. Ms. Sarah Chen has engaged in a campaign of harassment and control, Cole continued. She's frozen accounts her sister depends on for survival. She's refused to help with basic family obligations. She's even filed false police reports claiming her sister made threatening phone calls, when in fact she's the one who has been threatening. I wanted to jump up and scream that he was lying. But Maya had warned me, let him talk. Let him build his house of cards. Then we'd knock it down. Judge Hernandez listened to everything, making notes. Then she looked up. I want to hear from the sisters directly. Ms. Sarah Chen approached the witness stand. My legs felt like rubber as I walked up and was sworn in. Maya stood to question me. Ms. Chen, can you explain your relationship with your sister over the past 10 years? Took a breath. I supported her financially. My mother told me Rachel couldn't work because of her conditions, and that she needed help. For 5 years, I sent $1,500 a month to my mother, designated for Rachel. I also sent thousands in emergency funds for various crises. I gave over $118,000 total. Did you receive anything in return? No. No, thank you. No visits. When my mother was dying, Rachel barely came to see her. She showed up late to the funeral. When did you discover the trust? When I was cleaning out my mother's apartment after her death. I found documents showing that my mother had been putting my money into a trust for Rachel. I was named co-trustee but was never told. What did you do when you found out? Nothing. For 3 years I did nothing. I was grieving. I was broke. I just let it go. What changed? I looked at Rachel. She was crying silently, wiping her eyes with a tissue. I got flowers on my birthday. From my dead mother. She'd prepaid for them before she died. And I realized, she could spend $450 on 6 more years of flowers for me, but she couldn't tell me the truth about what she'd done with my money. That's when I started looking into the trust. And what did you discover? That Rachel had been collecting rental income from a house the trust owned. That she'd withdrawn over $40,000 from the principal. That she'd forged my signature to do it. And that she'd been lying about all of it. Maya nodded. No further questions. Cole stood for cross-examination, circling me like a shark. Miss Chen, you say you gave this money freely, correct? Yes. No one forced you. No, but. So you made voluntary gifts to your mother to support your sister. And now you regret it and want the money back. Isn't that accurate? No. I didn't give money to the trust. I gave it to my mother, believing it was going to Rachel's immediate needs. If I'd known it was going into savings, I would have put it into my own retirement instead. But you did give it freely. Under false pretenses. You're a nurse practitioner. You make what? $90,000 a year. $89,000 before taxes. And your sister is disabled and makes nothing. Don't you think she deserves help? I felt the anger rising but kept my voice steady. My sister is not disabled. She's unemployed by choice. There's a difference. You're not a doctor. You can't make that determination. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I can absolutely make that determination. And I've reviewed her medical records. There's nothing preventing her from working. Cole's jaw tightened. Your Honor, I object. Miss Chen is not qualified to evaluate her own sister. Sustained. Miss Chen, stick to what you know firsthand. Cole regrouped. Let's talk about your behavior since filing this lawsuit. You've frozen accounts your sister depends on. You've filed police reports. You've made her life a living hell. Why? Because she's been stealing from me for 3 years. Or because you're jealous. Because your mother loved her more and left her the money. That one hit. I felt my eyes sting. My mother loved her differently, I said quietly. She loved her enough to sacrifice me for her. And I can't forgive that. Cole smirked like he'd won something. No further questions. I stepped down shaking. Then it was Rachel's turn. She walked to the stand like she was walking to the gallows, small and fragile. When she was sworn in, her voice was barely audible. Cole started gently. Rachel, can you tell the court about your relationship with your sister? Sarah was always the golden child, Rachel said softly. She was smart, successful. Everything I wasn't. Mom loved us both, but Sarah. She always resented having to help me. Did your mother ask her to help you? Yes. 'Cause I was sick. I couldn't work. Sarah made good money, and Mom thought she should share. Did Sarah ever complain about helping you? All the time. Every phone call, every request, she'd make me feel like I was a burden. I wanted to scream. That wasn't true. I'd never complained. Just asked questions. Tried to understand where the money was going. When your mother died, what happened? Rachel started crying harder. Mom left me the trust because she knew I'd need it. But she made Sarah co-trustee because she thought Sarah would help manage it. Instead, Sarah cut me off. She froze everything. She won't let me access my own money. It's not her money, I hissed to Maya. Let her talk, Maya whispered back. Cole continued. Has Sarah ever threatened you? Yes. She called me and said she was going to make sure I ended up homeless. That I'd get nothing. I never said that. Judge Hernandez's gavel came down. Miss Chen, one more outburst and you'll be removed from this courtroom. I sat back shaking. Maya stood for cross-examination. She approached Rachel with a folder in hand. Miss Chen, you testified that you've been unable to work due to disability. Is that correct? Yes. What conditions prevent you from working? Fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression. When were you diagnosed with fibromyalgia? 2 years ago. So for the 3 years before that, what prevented you from working? Rachel blinked. I was dealing with other health issues. Such as chronic fatigue, pain. Were you diagnosed with any of these conditions? Not formally, but I knew something was wrong. Maya pulled out a document. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit F. This is Ms. Rachel Chen's social media history over the past 5 years, retrieved through legal discovery. In this time period, Ms. Chen has posted about attending concerts, traveling to 3 different states, going hiking and participating in a 5K run. Does that sound like someone debilitated by chronic pain and fatigue? Rachel's face went red. I have good days and bad days. Indeed. Let's talk about the trust. You testified that you believed this was your money. But you were aware that Sarah was co-trustee, correct? Mom said it was a formality. A formality. So when you withdrew $43,000 over 3 years, you knew you needed Sarah's signature. Mom said Sarah would sign whatever I needed. But Sarah never did sign, did she? You forged her signature. I didn't think she'd mind. You forged your sister's signature 43 times to steal $43,000. And you didn't think she'd mind? It was my money. It was trust money, which required both trustees' approval. You committed fraud. Cole jumped up. Objection. Counsel is harassing the witness. Overruled. Answer the question, Ms. Chen. Rachel was crying hard now, but they weren't sympathetic tears anymore. They were trapped animal tears. I needed the money. Sarah wasn't helping. Mom would have wanted me to have it. Maya pulled out another document. Let's talk about your phone call to Dr. Weinstein, trying to have your sister evaluated for incompetence. Why did you do that? I was worried about her. Or were you worried that she'd discovered your fraud and was taking steps to stop it? No. And the Adult Protective Services report. And the false police report about threatening phone calls. You've engaged in a systematic campaign to discredit your sister so you could continue stealing from her. Isn't that true? No. She's the one who's been cruel. She's the one who cut me off. She cut off your access to money you were stealing. That's not cruelty. That's justice. Judge Hernandez held up a hand. That's enough. I've heard enough from both sides. She looked at both of us for a long moment. I'm going to make my preliminary ruling, though this will go to a full trial if either party requests. Based on the evidence presented, it is clear that Ms. Rachel Chen has been accessing trust funds without proper authorization. The forged signatures alone constitute fraud. The rental income she collected without reporting to her co-trustee is embezzlement. Rachel's face went white. Ms. Rachel Chen, you are hereby ordered to repay all unauthorized withdrawals, totaling $43,000, plus the rental income of $86,400, for a total of $129,400, to the trust within 90 days. You are also ordered to cease and desist from any further contact with Ms. Sarah Chen except through legal counsel. Do you understand? Rachel's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client cannot possibly repay that amount. She has no income. Then I suggest she finds income. This court does not look kindly on theft, regardless of the family relationship. Ms. Sarah Chen, as co-trustee, you are granted sole authority over the trust until such time as Ms. Rachel Chen has repaid her debt and proven she can act in good faith. The gavel came down. We'd won. The courtroom emptied slowly. Rachel sat frozen at her table, staring at nothing while her lawyer packed up his briefcase with sharp, angry movements. I heard him say something to her about appeal options, but his tone suggested he wouldn't be the one filing them. Maya squeezed my arm. You did it. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. As we walked toward the exit, Rachel's voice cut through the murmur of the dispersing crowd. Sarah! Turn. She was standing now, tissue clutched in her hand, mascara streaked down her face. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed me. For 3 years those words would have gutted me. Would have made me apologize, backtrack, offer to help. But standing there in that courtroom, with Judge Hernandez's ruling still echoing in my ears, I felt nothing but a clean, clear certainty. No, Rachel. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped letting you destroy me too. I walked out and didn't look back. The next 3 months were a strange kind of limbo. Rachel had 90 days to repay $129,400. According to Maya, there were really only 3 ways that could happen. She could get a job and a payment plan, she could sell assets, or she could declare bankruptcy. Rachel chose option 4. She disappeared. Not literally, I would have heard about that through the court system. But she stopped answering her lawyer's calls. She abandoned her apartment, leaving 2 months of rent unpaid. The rental house the trust owned was found empty of her personal belongings but full of Mom's things she'd apparently been hoarding. Photo albums, furniture, boxes of clothing she'd never bothered to sort through. It was like she'd evaporated. She's hiding from the judgment, Maya explained over coffee one morning. Classic avoidance. She's hoping if she stays off the grid long enough, you'll give up. Will I have to give up? Eventually. Maybe. You can't get blood from a stone. But the judgment stands. If she ever resurfaces with assets, gets a job with garnishable wages, inherits money, wins the lottery, you can collect. And her credit is destroyed for the next 7 years at minimum. It wasn't the ending I'd wanted. I'd wanted Rachel to face consequences, to apologize, to acknowledge what she'd done. But I was learning that real life didn't always come with satisfying conclusions. Sometimes the bad guys just left. What I did have was the trust. Full control legally and finally. The rental house alone was worth $380,000. The remaining trust principal was $84,439 after Rachel's withdrawals. Combined with 3 years of rental income one was now entitled to collect minus Rachel's debt. I was looking at roughly $341,000 in assets. I sat with that number for a long time. It was more money than I'd ever imagined having. It was also less than I'd given up when you counted the $118,000 I'd sent, the years of retirement savings I'd missed, the opportunities I'd foregone. But it was mine. Finally, legally, undeniably mine. The first thing I did was pay off my credit cards. All of them. The funeral expenses, the car repairs I'd been putting off, the medical bills from a root canal I'd paid for in installments. $14,300 total. Watching those balances hit zero felt better than any therapy session ever could. The second thing I did was sell the rental house. I didn't want to be a landlord. I didn't want to manage tenants or worry about maintenance or drive past the place where Rachel had been collecting checks while I ate ramen. Maya connected me with a real estate agent, and we listed it for $389,000. Sold in 3 weeks for asking price. The third thing I did, and this one surprised even me, was go back to school. I'd always wanted to get my doctorate in nursing practice. Become a DNP, maybe teach someday, do research. But it cost $60,000 for the program, and I'd never had $60,000 lying around. I'd accepted that it was a dream for other people. People whose families didn't drain them dry. I enrolled for the fall semester. Full-time. I'd still work part-time at the hospital, but for the first time in my adult life, my primary focus would be my own future. When I told Maya, she actually teared up. "Sarah, I'm so proud of you. I'm just doing what I should have done 10 years ago." "No, you're doing what you can do now. That's different. That's growth." 6 months after the court ruling, I got a Facebook message from Jennifer, Rachel's best friend, who'd called me greedy and cruel. "Sarah, I owe you an apology. Rachel borrowed $8,000 from me 2 years ago for medical expenses. She never paid me back." After the court case, I started asking questions. I found out she borrowed money from at least 5 other people, always with some crisis story. None of us ever got paid back. "I'm sorry I believed her lies about you. I hope you're doing okay." I read it 3 times before responding. "Thank you for telling me. I hope you're able to recover your money. Take care." She wrote back immediately. "I won't recover it. She's gone. But I wanted you to know, some of us realize now what she did to you. You weren't the villain. We were just too blind to see it." Over the next few weeks, I heard from 3 other people Rachel had borrowed from. An old co-worker, $3,500 for car repairs. A cousin, $2,000 for emergency dental work. A former roommate, $1,200 for rent that Rachel had apparently pocketed. Rachel had been running the same con on everyone. I'd just been the biggest mark because I was family, and family is supposed to sacrifice. The rental house had one more surprise for me. When we emptied it for sale, I found 17 boxes of Mom's belongings in the basement that Rachel had never sorted. Photos, documents, keepsakes. I almost left them for the estate sale, but something made me take them home. One rainy Saturday, I started going through them. Old tax returns, birthday cards, report cards from my elementary school years. And then, in a box labeled Important Papers, I found letters. Letters from my father to my mother, written before he died when I was 12. I'd barely known him. He'd worked long hours, died suddenly of a heart attack. But here was his voice, preserved in blue ink on yellow legal paper. One letter was dated 6 months before he died. "Margaret, I'm worried about Rachel. Sarah's doing fine. She's self-sufficient, always has been. But Rachel needs to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. We can't support her forever. When I'm gone, promise me you won't sacrifice Sarah's future to enable Rachel's dependence. They both deserve their own lives." I read it 4 times, then pressed it to my chest and sobbed. My father had seen it. He'd tried to warn Mom. But after he died, Mom had done exactly what he'd feared. She'd sacrificed me to enable Rachel. And she'd done it for 26 years. I found another letter, this one dated 2 weeks before Dad's death. "I've set up the life insurance to split evenly between Sarah and Rachel. $100,000 each. Make sure they both get their share. Don't let anyone tell you one deserves more than the other. They're both our daughters." But I'd never received $100,000 from Dad's life insurance. According to the trust documents, that money had gone into the trust. All of it. Mom had taken my inheritance and given it to Rachel. Called Maya. "I need you to look at something." When she read the letters, her face went dark. "Sarah, this changes things. If your father's life insurance was designated equally and your mother diverted your portion, that's theft. From you. By your mother. She's dead. But Rachel benefited from it. That $100,000 should have been yours. It's been earning interest for over 30 years. You might have a claim against the trust for that amount plus interest." Thought about it. I could fight for that money. I could drag this out for another year, maybe 2. I could squeeze every dollar I was technically owed out of my dead mother's estate and my vanished sister's debt. Or I could let it go. No, I said finally. I'm done. I've got enough. I got my life back. That's worth more than the money. Maya studied me for a long moment. You're sure? I'm sure. 1 year after the flowers appeared on my doorstep, I went back to the cemetery. November 9th. My 48th birthday. This time there were no flowers waiting for me at home. The prepaid deliveries had run out. It was just me, a thermos of coffee, and my mother's grave. I sat on the grass beside her headstone and pulled out the letter I'd written. I'd been working on it for months, revising it, trying to find the right words. Dear Mom, I read aloud. I know what you were trying to do. You were trying to protect Rachel because you thought she couldn't protect herself. You were trying to make sure she'd be okay after you were gone. I understand that impulse. Really do. But what you didn't understand, or maybe didn't care about, is that you taught Rachel she didn't have to be okay on her own. You taught her that other people would always rescue her, that she could manipulate and lie and steal, and someone would always cover for her. And you taught me that my value was in what I could provide, that my needs were less important, that being strong meant being used. I've spent this year unlearning those lessons. I've spent this year discovering that I'm worth more than what I can give, that boundaries aren't cruelty, that saying no doesn't make me the villain. I don't know where Rachel is now. Part of me hopes she's okay. Part of me hopes she's learned something. But mostly I don't think about her at all anymore. And I think that's the healthiest thing I've ever done. I'm going back to school, Mom. I'm getting my doctorate. I'm building a life that's mine, not anyone else's. And I'm doing it with the money you tried to hide from me, which feels like its own kind of justice. I don't forgive you. I don't think I ever will. But I'm letting go of the anger because holding on to it was just another way of letting you control my life. So this is goodbye. For real this time. I'm not coming back here. I'm not spending any more birthdays talking to a stone. I'm going to spend them celebrating the fact that I survived your love. Your daughter, Sarah. I folded the letter and buried it at the base of the headstone, covering it with dirt and dead leaves. Then I stood up, brushed off my jeans and walked back to my car. I didn't look back. 2 years after the lawsuit, I was in my second year of doctoral studies. I'd made the dean's list both semesters. I'd presented research at a national conference. I'd started dating a kind, stable man named Marcus who worked as an accountant and thought my boundaries were refreshing instead of selfish. I'd bought a small house. Nothing fancy but mine. 2 bedrooms, a garden, a mortgage I could actually afford. I'd adopted a dog, a rescue named Betty who'd been abandoned by her previous owners and understood, in her dog way, what it meant to start over. I was happy. Not perfect, not healed, but genuinely happy. And then, on a random Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sarah. The voice was raspy, older sounding. It's Rachel. My heart stopped. Where are you? Oregon. I've been getting help. I'm in therapy. I'm on medication. I got a job at a call center. She laughed, but it sounded sad. Turns out I can work. Who knew? I didn't say anything. I'm calling because my therapist said I needed to make amends. To the people I hurt. And I hurt you. Really badly. Yes, you did. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I forgive myself. But I wanted you to know I see it now. What I did. What Mom did. How fucked up it all was. Okay. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for anything. I wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserved better. From me. From Mom. From all of us. I sat down on my porch steps, Betty's head in my lap. Thank you for saying that. Are you okay? Are you doing okay? I'm in school. Getting my doctorate. Have a house. Dog. Boyfriend. I'm good, Rachel. I'm really good. Silence. Then quietly. I'm glad. You deserve that. So do you. I hope you figure it out. Yeah. Me too. Another pause. I won't call again. I just needed you to hear that I'm sorry. I heard you. Okay. Bye, Sarah. Bye, Rachel. I hung up and sat there for a long time, Betty snoring softly against my leg. I waited to feel something. Anger, satisfaction, grief, relief. But all I felt was neutral. Like Rachel was a character in a story I'd read once, a long time ago. That night Marcus asked if I was okay. I told him about the call. How do you feel? Honestly, I don't really feel anything. Is that bad? I think that's healthy. You did your grief work. You set your boundaries. You moved on. She's not the main character in your story anymore. No, I agreed. She's not. 5 years after the flowers, I finished my doctorate. Dr. Sarah Chen, DNP. I cried when I got the diploma, not because it was hard, though it was, but because I'd done it. Me. With my money, my effort, my determination. At my graduation, Maya was there. Marcus was there. My small circle of real friends was there. My chosen family. No one from my blood family came. I didn't invite them and they didn't ask. During the ceremony, when they called my name, I walked across that stage thinking about the woman I'd been 5 years ago. The one who'd opened her door to find flowers from a dead woman and started asking questions. The one who'd been so desperate for her family's approval that she'd emptied her bank account and called it love. I barely recognized her anymore. After the ceremony, there was a reception. I was standing by the punch bowl when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations, Dr. Chen. I saw your name in the university newsletter. I'm proud of you. Rachel. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back. Thank you. That was all. No emoji. No invitation to reconnect. No door left open. Just, thank you. 'Cause I was thankful. Not for her approval. I didn't need that anymore. But for the fact that I'd survived her. Survived all of them. And built something beautiful from the wreckage. Today I'm 52 years old. I teach at the university now, 3 classes a semester. I still work part-time at the hospital because I like patient care, but it's on my terms. I have retirement savings. 401k. An emergency fund with 6 months of expenses. I'm getting married next month. Marcus and I are having a small ceremony. 30 people, mostly friends, a few colleagues. No family beyond Marcus's parents and sister, who are lovely people who think boundaries are normal instead of betrayals. Last week, I was cleaning out my office and found the card from those flowers. The ones that started everything. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Love always, Mom. I held it for a moment, then threw it away. I don't need my dead mother's love anymore. I don't need anyone's love who comes with conditions and price tags. I have the love of people who see me as a whole person, not a resource to be mined. And I have my own love. For myself. For the woman I've become. For Dr. Sarah Chen, who is strong, but not because she can carry everyone else's weight. Strong because she learned to put it down. My name is Sarah Chen. I am 52 years old, and I have finally learned that you cannot buy love, and you shouldn't have to. That family is supposed to lift you up, not bleed you dry. That saying no is not cruelty, it's self-preservation. And that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you have a Rachel, if you had a mother like mine, if you've spent years being the strong one, the dependable one, the one who always sacrifices, I want you to ask yourself something. What would your life look like if you stopped? Not in anger. Not in revenge. Just put down the weight you've been carrying and walked away. It might be the scariest thing you ever do. It was for me. But it might also be the thing that saves your life. I got flowers on my birthday from someone who died years ago. But the greatest gift my mother ever gave me wasn't those flowers. It was showing me, through her betrayal, what I would not accept anymore. And that gift, that awakening, was worth every dollar I lost. What would you do? Would you have the courage to walk away from family? To choose yourself over obligation? To become the villain in someone else's story so you could be the hero in your own? I did. And I've never looked back. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, I hope you'll share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone is opening their door to find flowers from a dead woman, and they need to know. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to set boundaries. It's okay to walk away. You are not the villain for refusing to be used. You are the hero for finally choosing yourself. If something like this has happened in your life and you want to share your story, you can email it to us at voicesofwomenstories@gmail.com. Your identity will always remain confidential.